All right. What would you think would be the #1 way to build up energy? I did say cleanliness, but that's a better way.
To build up energy.
To build up energy.
Food.
Ask him. Ask him how you keep the camera going.
Batteries.
How?
Power.
What do you do? How?
Sleeping.
Huh? That's automatically gonna power that boy all the way back up, ain't it? So what about you? How you feel when you wake up in the morning? You ever seen somebody who had diabetes and when they went to bed at night, it was high, but when they went to sleep, they woke up and it dropped? Or you hear a lot of people say, if I go to sleep, I feel a little better. Sleeping is #1 energy enhancer. Sleeping, fasting, meditation, and prayer. That's how you have to recharge. Think about your phone, man. What your phone do when it get down to 4-5%? Start cutting off Wi-Fi, start cutting off Bluetooth. Everything start cutting off, letting you know, hey, you better charge this up. You know? The body do the same thing. It starts warning you, hey, I'm yawning, eyes drooping. It's doing the same thing. It's warning you. But what we do, we go take a energy drink. We got this thing. You got this reserve tank that nature gives you that you can always tap into. Once you drain your energy, you notice that you can get a little second wind from somewhere? You got this energy reserve that your body tap into. But over years of tapping into it and never putting back into it, it dies out. And when it dies out, that's what we call death. All right? Anybody want to reach that right now? Right now. Do y'all know, and most of y'all in church, so I know y'all read the scriptures, so y'all will know that our lifespan should run at least 120 years. What, about 70 or 80 with a promise that we obey our parents? But he said, I'll strive with man for 120 years. Just don't grieve the spirit. Well, how you doing it? You know what I'm saying? You can't, this is like almost testing God now when we be like, well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, but I know you said you're going to keep me that long. That's like putting the what? The gun to your head and saying, well, I know God's going to help me, that let this bullet not kill me. Well, why are you going to even pull the trigger? If I give you the cure, say I give you the antidote for a snake bite, would you let that snake bite you? Well, why do we do it with antacids? We know antacids, we'll take the purple pill, I'm going to eat this food, I got a pill to take out. I'm going to do this. I used to do that. That's why I used to do that. I used to take this, I wouldn't take medicine too much. I would just take a bunch of herbs. A bunch of herbs. I should have been the healthiest person if herbs was the key to vitamin. If that was the key to life, I should be the healthiest joker there is. Ask my wife. I used to take so much vitamin. I used to take, wake up in the morning. I mean, I was on the newest of vitamin. I was even planning on going to school to become a master herbalist. You know. I'm glad I did. You know, it would have been a waste of time. But you got to think about it. Why would you? I used to take this stuff called diabetes real bad. I think it was what was the name? It starts with a C.
Chondroitin.
It was a C. If you said it, I get chromium. It would definitely take something down. I don't know what it was doing, but I know now what it was doing. It was actually hindering my vital process. Because anytime, okay, for example, if, say that you was fighting her, right? But y'all was just fussing. I wouldn't really give that much attention to you. But now say you was, she came over here and came to slap you. Now I would pay a little more attention to that. Y'all actually getting physical. That's the same thing with the body. A disease is just your body just doing its own house cleaning. But when you introduce medicine to it, you just introduce a poison to your body. So your vital energy got to go and neutralize that. So it leaves this alone. So that's why you don't feel that no more. But when it's finished neutralizing this, then it's going to come back over here. That's when you start feeling it again. Because it's going to go ahead and start finish cleaning. The introduced poison to your body is going to take that vital energy from where it was focused at. That's why you don't feel it right there. That makes sense? Yeah. All right, what number are we on that? Number 8. We need to stay away from toxic relationships. Toxic relationships. And when I say toxic relationships, I'm talking about your mama, your sister, your brother, your dog, your bird, whatever. If it's a game getting on your nerves, take that game off your phone. If you can't win it, take it off. If it's keeping you up at night and not being able to sleep, if the TV in your room causing you not, able to get sleep, take that TV out and put it in the front room. We didn't have TVs in our house. I know most of y'all know that. Anyhow, when y'all was young, there wasn't too many TVs throughout the house. One TV, everybody go watch at one time. It wasn't no TV, and everybody had a TV. Now. So you got to get your relationships better. Notice how you have a thought. You'll let that one. This is what we call the automatic negative thoughts. We call them ants. I don't know if you ever heard of that concept, but it's called ants. Automatic negative thoughts. Why we call them ants is because just like at a picnic, everybody done probably been to a picnic, and at these picnics, if you allow one ant to come there and take some of your food, and he make it back to that mound, what's gonna happen? You're gonna see a whole trail of ants coming over there, right? So that one done produce ants. All right, same thing with your thought pattern. If you start with one thought and you don't correct it, I say talk back to it. A lot of people say you can't talk back to it. No, talk back to that thought. Say, hey, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's not me. And then you'll stop it. But if you allow that, next thing you know, that girl, she done been talking to that guy, and that was one of her old friends, and I know she must be out there with him now, and they might be there. Now you already got the gun to his head and done killed him in your mind. You know what I'm saying? That is toxic. You got to keep nurturing relationships in your life. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have any questions? Anybody want to ask any questions about it?
If I can just add to the toxic thing, there was a preacher that was talking one time. He started with just picked up a bracelet and asked his congregation to do the same thing, and would wear the bracelet and to remind themselves not to criticize, condemn, or complain, because it's just such a habit that we do all the time. He said it took them a month to get one day behind them. He said because it is such a habit. Yeah. But once you get used to that, and you don't realize how often you do it, and then you feed into that negativity. But once it's just such a habit that everybody feeds off of each other doing that instead of seeing the good of it.
That's true. We are creatures of habit anyhow. They say it usually takes 21 days to break any habit. It usually takes 21 days. But we have to deal with our internal dialogue. You have to control your internal dialogue. Internal dialogue is that real-time conversation, that 24-hour conversation you having with yourself that nobody else can hear. It's like a dude would say, it's that conversation. Say, this boy he had told his mom, he said, I'm talking to myself in my head, but my mouth ain't moving, but I can hear it. What is going on? She said, that's just your thought. You're talking, yes, your internal dialogue. You got to control that because that becomes you. 1 minute it'll tell you something, the next minute it'll tell you something totally different. You ever heard of a paradigm shift? Paradigm shift, having one thought pattern, like having the medical mentality, thinking that you will die from a disease like diabetes. Like they say there's no cure for diabetes. Well, they can't tell me that. I done had a paradigm shift, because I know better than that now. And even people who me and my wife been working with, we had one lady we gave a detox to. Within 2 weeks, her sugar was leveled out, and she was on insulin. Lost about 10, 15 pounds in 2 weeks, man. Something that they said she's gonna have to live with for the rest of her life. Okay? We know what cancer is. Go ahead, man.
What does fasting involve?
Fasting involved? Well, it's a different thing. I do hygienic fasting, meaning only taking in only distilled water for a 24-hour period. But now you got different types of fasting. You got complete fasting where you allow the body to fast until it heals itself. Like you would not take in any more food until your body had completed like a bunch of different little healing crises. Like you'll go through little healing where you might get little diseases that come up real quick but only last for like a couple of hours. Like you might have headaches, you might have a little blood pressure jump or something like that. But it's just all the stuff that you had buried down through the years that just rise up and come out and go out of you. It's like purging, in other words. Fasting is just another form of purging all that old stuff out of you. Some of them usually, complete fast usually take about 4 to 5 weeks. If you notice how Jesus went and fasted for 40 days, 40 nights, and if you notice how he did, it said he didn't even drunk no water. And he even, if you notice what he did, he eliminated himself from society. Even though he was already preaching, he still went in the wilderness, away from everywhere, where he can have sensory rest, where he don't have to use his eyes, where he can have mental rest, where he don't even have to think. He put himself in a complete fast. You have there's like 5 different states of rest when you're doing a complete fast. You do sensory rest where you're not using your eyes, mental rest where you're not using your brain, physiological rest where you're not using your stomach at all, and then you have emotional rest where you're not actually dealing with society. You see where I'm coming from? That makes sense? But you will only be taking in distilled water, though. But if you were to go on an extended fast, I would tell you to deal with somebody who's familiar with a fast, because you might not be familiar with the healing crises you might go through. You might get scared when you one ache come up. You be, oh, you're doing wrong with somebody else. You better eat. You're killing yourself. You know, but it's not that. You have to deal with somebody who knows and help guide you through it.
Is there a fast that people can look up? Like my mother's a diabetic, and they're not supposed to go without eating because of the sugar.
Well, see, that's the medical mentality there.
But they can go without, and they're okay. For
That's the best thing for them to do. Because
Is there a particular one that they should do with someone with that many symptoms of diabetes, blood pressure, or is it just a basic cleanse?
they really don't. You can do the fast. Fasting is not the cure, man. Let me reiterate that.
It's
Fasting
just a
is
good
not
way
a
to
cure.
start
It just
to
puts your
help.
body in the best situation to heal itself. In other words, but she don't even have to do a fast to get rid of diabetes. Diabetes cannot exist in if she takes fat out of her diet. Because fat is what causes diabetes, not
Really?
sugar. Fat is what coats the sugar and keeps it in the blood. That's why it's sustaining in the blood.
Can I ask you one more?
Go ahead.
I've been reading up on MSG, and they said MSG actually stores fat. Is that correct?
It could be. MSG is,
I know it's really bad for you regardless.
Monosodium glutamate.
Yeah.
well, you know, yeah. But that's in everything. But MSG is more or less a excitotoxin. It's not going to store no fat. It's just excitotoxin. You ever been tickled before? Until it wasn't funny anymore? That's just what MSG does to your brain cells and stuff like that. It kills them off. It tickles them so much that you ever been eating like a French fry and you ate one and the next thing you know you're picking 2 and 3 trying to stuff them in your mouth because you craving it now. It's exciting your brain so much. It's tickling. It's keeping it going, but at the same time it's destroying them all at the same time.
For real.
Yeah.